Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Run in the Paint recap. Today is Thursday, June 4th. I'm Miles here in person with Ben and Joey. Joining us virtually is Nick. Guys, how are y'all doing today?
Feeling good, feeling great. Happy to be doing a live and virtual podcast with the full crew for the first game of the finals.
Yeah, we had a great start to the finals. Game one was epic. Excited to talk to you guys about it.
Yeah, Ben, how are you feeling? Game one of the finals definitely lived up to the hype so far. What'd you think? We'll get into more detail.
Yeah, feeling good. Feeling great myself. Yeah, we're making run paint history. New type of podcast recording here, but uh, it's looking good. So this will be fun.
Yeah, no better time of year than now to make this history. So let's get into it. Game one of the finals last night with New York. They continue the hottest stretch of basketball that we've ever seen. A 10-point victory in game one, 105 to 95. They steal home court advantage in San Antonio. And although it was a 10-point victory, which, by the way, was their seventh straight road win by double digits and their 12th straight victory in the playoffs, which is now the second highest streak ever behind the 2017 Golden State Warriors, who won their first 15 playoff games. Despite it being a 10-point game, this was an insanely close game that did come down to the final minutes. Ben, where do you want to start with this game? There's a whole lot of stuff we can touch on. Where do you want to start?
I think it's right. We just get to the beginning, get to the end. Last I guess I like the beginning. Was interesting. Like the first few minutes, the Knicks got off to that strong start. It seemed like the nerves were getting the Spurs really. Then the Spurs started responding really well. I was quite impressed. I thought maybe the Knicks could go on a huge run, but the Spurs did somehow 20-5 after that to end the first quarter, and Dylan Harper was starting to get it going. Then Champagne was starting to get it going from Greece, and you know the Spurs, they regrouped well there. It had pretty good offense generated for the rest of the first quarter, and I mean they had a good first half overall. Yeah, responded good, at least in the first half from some nerves, which I get it. No titles for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, Nick, we talked about it in the finals preview how the experience factor could be a factor, especially at the start of game one. And I think throughout the game, we saw some nerves at different points by the Spurs, and even some poor play from the Knicks as well. I think it was very interesting how we have these two great offensive teams, but it was an offensive struggle for a majority of the night.
Yeah, it really was. We looked up in the end of the third quarter and it was 76-76 on pace for, a pretty low scoring first game of the finals. And it ended that way. Just over or exactly 200 points combined total. But yeah, like you said, there was a lot of nerves for I would say definitely the Spurs. One of the critical moments of the game was in the third quarter. Like they had kept the Knicks from scoring like really at all up until like the 6 minute, like half of the quarter. They only had 50 or 51 points, I think, at like the 6 minute mark after having 46, I think, at the half. And that last stretch over like the last 6 minutes of the third quarter, the Knicks just went on a heater, tied the game up to end the. They were down 14. They tied it to end the third quarter by going on a 25 to like 14 run or so.
Yeah, and Joey, this was a game where the stars, the superstars of this matchup, Brunson and Wembenyama, they didn't shoot the ball the greatest. We'll get to Brunson's heroics a little bit later, but it was still close on both sides because the supporting players had to play a key role.
Oh yeah, Jalen Brunson and Wemby both were struggling. Like the reason the Spurs got off and to such a good start and at least kept it kind of close, even though New York was also struggling, was due to the fact of Dylan Harper and Julian Champagny in the first half. But come the second half, they kind of disappeared a little bit. But that third quarter, man, Carl Anthony Towns taking over in that run. He looked aggressive. He looked dominant. Nobody standing in his way. And then as soon as the fourth quarter hits, it's Jalen Brunson time. Jalen Brunson continues to be one of the most clutch players I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it really is unbelievable. Like after this playoffs is over, we may need to do like a ranking or a tier list of how clutch players are in different eras because Brunson has got to be up there for one of the most clutch players of the 2020s. Certainly, he's always there. It feels like when the Knicks need them. But you're right, Joe. It was Karl Anthony Towns in the third quarter that became a beast on the offensive glass. Got a bunch of second chance opportunities which helped the Knicks get back into it because the Spurs were in control for a majority of the game, led by 14, 15 points. But Towns was big on the glass. We should talk about Josh Hart. Didn't score a whole lot, but certainly stuffed the stats. His exact stat line. This has got to be the first stat line of this kind in history. 3 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals. I mean, that is a unique stat line again, and it just shows the type of things that Josh Hart can do on the floor, impacting without being a scorer.
Well, yeah, I mean, Josh Hart's role is really a scorer. It's to do the other things well, and he really did the other things well. That's why his minutes ended up being so productive. His rebounding continues to just be really impressive as a guard. Plays great defense. He just plays his role that the Knicks needed him to really well once again, and other guys, at least did enough scoring for them to help them get the win. Though it was sort of a struggle for the Knicks offensively to where they could look to grow even more off of this scheme.
Nick, let's talk about Victor Wembanyama. Of course, the big name coming into this series, a 22-year-old phenom in his first finals game. What did you think of how he played? He didn't, again, like we mentioned, the two stars didn't shoot the ball well. He finished with 26 points, 12 rebounds, 3 blocks, but 6 for 21 from the field, 2 for 9 from 3. Got a majority of his points from the free throw line. What did you think overall of his finals debut?
It's going to be a rough take because he shot 13 free throws, but I thought he should have been more aggressive. Like throughout the game, I thought like at the beginning when he missed, I think his first 9 of his first 12 shots, he was like 3 for 12 with like 14 points going into the fourth or something. That he just like didn't play around the rim as much as he needs to. Like he would catch the ball, a step in from the perimeter, step in from the 3-point line on the wing with whether it's Deuce McBride or even Hart. He doesn't look to go at these matchups when he doesn't hunt down and attack the rim in the way that he would in your optimal offense. But yeah, to me, that's a big thing. I'm curious what you guys have to. I kind of want to ask you about Josh Hart and keep it on him for a minute because coming into the series, we both said a couple of days ago, we thought the Spurs would win by double digits, and like I just said, like they had a chance to put it away there, and I thought like they were going to, but Josh Hart was plus 22 in this game, and I'm wondering what you guys think about the scheme that Wemby guarding him, how that went in this game, and whether because that's going to be a big thing throughout. Like regardless of how this game went, it was a 10-point game, but like you said, Miles, it was very close throughout, and that's going to be a consistent X factor. Like that's going to be a consistent thing to watch. So yeah, Brunson is going to be there in the end because he brings them home every single time, like he did tonight, vintage. But I wonder what you guys think about that.
Well, I certainly think Josh Hart is just crucial no matter what he does. Like even though today, like he only scored 3 points, he did everything else fantastic. Like you said, he's a plus 22. When known Chelsea fan Josh Hart is on the floor, the New York Knicks are a better basketball team no matter what he's doing. However, I do like the scheme of having Wemby on it because even though Wemby didn't shoot well, he was. It's just insane how his just presence affects the game. Because with them, Josh Hart not scoring or shooting the ball a whole lot, and Wemby guarding him, he at least can like drift around the middle. And when he's anywhere near the paint, the Knicks actively cannot shoot. They always dribble down, and then they'll see Wemby, and then they just have to dribble out and kick it out. They can't shoot in the paint like a lot of teams when Wemby is down there. As soon as they have a step on him, that's when they were attacking. Or as soon as Luke Cornett gets in, that's as soon as the game plan is for the Knicks to just go inside the paint. And they're taking advantage. They took advantage of it tonight. Like I saw on a handful of occasions that happened. But along with like I do like that Wemby guards hard, especially if he's not gonna shoot it well. But like us Cavs fan realized, if he does get it going, Wemby, they're gonna have to have someone else guard him. Because if he's scoring, Wemby is not going to be able to drift in the middle. He's going to have to get out there, or they're just going to have someone else guard him.
Yeah, what I found very interesting about the way that Josh Hart was kind of used in this game is with Wemby guarding Josh Hart, the way that I felt the Knicks kind of combated that was their offense. I thought they were the pace on offense with how they moved the ball and were kind of going around every area of the floor with different handoffs and screens. I thought it forced the Spurs to switch the matchup, which then left Wemby outside of the paint sometimes, and that's how the Knicks were able to get inside. I thought besides there was that stretch in the third quarter where the Knicks took 3 shots in a row over Wemby, like jump shots. We're like, what are you doing? You're watching the game. Besides that, I thought that the way that they forced the Spurs to switch was a huge reason why they were able to get inside.
Yeah, I know we talked about like them maybe switching him on the Towns and stuff. Is that still like who you guys would say the most likely next move would be if Josh Hart gets it going from behind the arc?
Yeah, I feel like he has to because he was still guarding whenever he was like switched on to Towns. Like he did end up doing really well. Like Towns couldn't really get a shot inside unless he did a move from when he was guarding him on the perimeter and then just happens to get a step, which did happen a couple of times. But
Yeah,
I don't know. Got to
I
wait
don't
and see
know.
until Hart brings it.
Would you guys agree he needs to be more aggressive?
Wemby, I mean, I think he just has to play better, Ben. I mean, we've talked about how, when he's aggressive coming out of the gate and attacking the basket with force, not with finesse, that's when the Spurs are so hard to beat. And I thought he came out aggressive. He made that first pull-up jumper, but then he didn't make another field goal for another while there. He was, I want to say, like 2 for 11 near the end of the third quarter.
Yeah, like I felt Wemby had a good game, and there's times where it was aggressive, made a good impact, but like I especially felt like it started getting later on in the fourth quarter. Yeah, it looked like his impact started to be pretty good, but in like the last few minutes of the game, I was like, man, this is sort of going away. What's going on? It's just like I think Wemby knows that, but got to figure out how they could be more effective with him being more aggressive. What I saw, at least, and yeah, obviously, 95 points, not easy totally all the time when we score that many points in the game, so they have to figure out just how to find more consistent offense as a team. 'Cause they did find some good offense at times, as I mentioned in the first half, but just more consistent in a game, really.
Yeah, lowest scoring game in the playoffs for the Spurs. First time they didn't reach 100 points in this game offensively. And I will say, I think Wemby did need to, improve his aggression, throughout the course of the game. But late in the game, when it was super close and it was going back and forth with about 3-4 minutes to go, New York. Well, I'll take it back to when New York was up 8 with 4 minutes to go, and then Wemby made that pull up three to force the Knicks into a timeout. He got to the free throw line. Like I thought when those plays happen, I think we probably all thought that, all right, this is where Wemby's starting to try to get it going. And it was in that time of the game where, wow, neither team has played that great offensively, but this is right here for the takings here. And this is a pivotal game. Like whoever loses this game, it could come back to bite them later in the series. And I just think that Brunson made some crazy shots. The Knicks got some offensive rebounds. Of course, the big one that led to that Brunson corner three, which gave them the lead for good. Meanwhile, Wemby missed some jumpers, that corner three that hit the side of the backboard, the ISO where he dribbled it off his foot. Like, there were plays where I think he was being aggressive, but it just didn't work out. And it did for Brunson.
Yeah, he was being a little too uncontrollable. Like he forced it too much. like even though he didn't shoot I agree with Nick, like he should have been more aggressive, especially in that third quarter when they were taking on because he was just sitting back. I remember I mentioned when we were all watching together, I'm like, they got to get Wemby somehow involved in the offense again because Harper isn't shooting well coming out of the. Champagne hasn't taken a shot. Wemby's not shooting. It's just like, who are they going to get their offense from? But like you said, Jalen Brunson making some incredible shots. I thought Wemby forced some shots. OG Anunoby, like we were talking about, Wemby, they couldn't shoot over Wemby and all that kind of stuff. OG Anunoby shot it over Wemby and nailed that corner three. That was really
crazy.
clutch. I don't know how he got it over, but I don't know. I think I really want to see Stephon Castle be more aggressive because if De'Aaron Fox is going to play like crap, like he's played pretty much all the playoffs and including today, where he shot it a lot and he was being aggressive, it just wasn't going in. And if it's not going in, maybe give your other guard who was actually shooting it decent, just didn't get consistent shots throughout the game. It all came in like the first half.
Yeah, and what I'll also say to that as well, Ben, I mean, we could hear your thoughts on this. Obviously, Fox struggled in this game. Shooting was 3 for 13. Castle got it going a little bit in the second half, but the star for a majority of the game for the Spurs was the rookie Dylan Harper. Again, he looked fantastic throughout the game, but Mitch Johnson had him on the bench to close the game. They went with their starters to close the game, and Harper was not on the floor. Or what do you think? Do you think that Mitch Johnson should have gone with that decision? Should have gone with a different game plan to have Harper on the floor over his All-Star $200 million man in Fox.
I mean, I think I would have had Harper back in. I would have thought, like, look, Harper has been pretty effective this game, especially in the first half. He was great. I mean, he did tail off a bit in the second half, but it was overall a good game from him. And I mean, out of all their guards, I thought he generated the best offensively. So I mean, I would have went with what was working. I thought it could have possibly worked better. Like with Fox, seemed like he struggling more offensively than him. I know Fox is more experienced guy and stuff, but sometimes it's about who has more of the hot hand. I like to think of it that way sometimes, especially if you think still work matchup wise.
Especially in the finals too. Like if this is your first home game, like we've said before, like this game can change it. You got to go with the hot hand. I'm with you.
I would push back. I would say that it felt like the Spurs had control of this game for the majority of it. They shot the ball terrible, and granted, like so did the Knicks, and that might be a thing that continues because both these defenses are matched up pretty well with each other, and they've schemed each other pretty well, and they're making everything difficult. But I wouldn't expect them to get they had 16 assists tonight. That was it. I mean, that's pretty impressive from the Knicks standpoint to hold the Spurs offense to that much. But again, like that.
Yeah, this is the Spurs we're talking about that love to move the ball. Only 6.
Yeah, that's not going to happen again. Exactly. Like I'm looking, De'Aaron Fox was their leading assist guy with 5, and 3 of 13 is bad. And like when Miles asked the question, I'm like, yeah, you have a $200 million guy, but it's the finals, and if Dylan Harper is a guy, then Dylan Harper is a guy. But I don't think it's time to press the panic button yet. If you get down in the fourth quarter, down 2-0 in New York, maybe you go to Dylan Harper to close that one. I know that's kind of a rough scenario to paint, but I just think from what I watched tonight, the Spurs don't have much to worry about yet. They just got to come back better for the next one and then find a way to take one in New York.
Well, Nick, I wanted to ask you, as the coach of the podcast, Coach Cove. I know you've never been in a situation where you've had to choose between $200 million All-Star versus a rookie who's playing better, but I've got to imagine for Mitch Johnson, it's easy for us here to say that you should have played the hot hand, but that can't be an easy decision to make on the sideline. You've got an All-Star who has, we've seen plenty of nights before from this guy, whether it's this year or early for Joey's Sacramento Kings days, where there might be games where for the first 3.5 quarters, he's not shooting the ball well, but then he comes through in the clutch and makes some big shots. So I think
exactly.
that's a risk that I feel like you have to take in that situation. And
because
I don't know who else you would have taken out for the Spurs, because everyone else, although Champagne didn't play that well in the second half, he only had 1 point in the second half after a great first half. Wemby, obviously you're playing Wemby. Vassell had 9 rebounds. Like all of them were fine enough. Like what stands out to me is that they had 4 players that had 8 or more rebounds. So
I
like
know.
their guys were taking care of the glass pretty well for a majority of the game. Like the final numbers 54-49 in favor of the Spurs. But the funny thing to me is I feel like we've talked about the Wemby mishaps near the end of the game, the 3 and then the turnovers, but I feel like what really hurt the Spurs was not getting the defensive rebounds the final couple minutes of the game to close it out because they defended pretty well, getting the ball out of Brunson's hands, forcing OG Anunoby contested 3, Mikal Bridges fade away, even some tough shots for Brunson, but then they get the rebound, and that's usually the best time to get another open look, especially from 3. And with the Brunson corner 3, that's exactly what they got it off of, an offensive rebound.
Yeah, when Mitchell Robinson came in that fourth quarter, he was kind of bullying Wemby. Like you could easily see it, even though he's got that broken pinky. Mitchell Robinson is still as just crucial as ever for that New York Knicks team.
Yeah, I thought his minutes were very impactful, even though he was a -4. What I was gonna say about the Harper thing is, and the Fox thing, like, if you do switch that up after this game, what that player's thinking is like, I saw Fox had like a turnaround that he missed late in the fourth that would I think either tie the game or made it a one possession game, and what that player's thinking is like if that falls, like it rimmed out, then where it's a tie game and the game's completely different, and everything leading up to that was the same thing we've done all year long with me starting and this and that. So it really has to be sort of like the opposite end of that is, but it's the finals. But it really has to be sort of like, you can't press a professional like locker room like that sort of thing.
No, and like you said before, Nick, this isn't a panic situation yet. I don't think. Like I feel like they'd make a drastic change like that if it was down 2-1 on the road or
Right.
down 3-1 facing elimination. I don't think they need to go there yet. But that said, now going into game 2, it's going to be a big game for the Spurs because you can't lose both games at home to start off the finals. We talked about Karl Anthony Towns and his offensive rebounds and his scoring, but Ben, I want to shine some light on his defense on Wemby because heading into this series, we were wondering, okay, who is going to guard Victor Wembanyama? We were wondering who's Victor Wembanyama going to guard, but who's going to guard Wemby at the other end? Is it going to be OG Anunoby? It ends up being Karl Anthony Towns, and Towns did a very good job. I mean, Wemby didn't shoot the ball well, and most of those, honestly, were on Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, no, he did a great job. It's just quite impressive how he's improved on the defensive end this year. I think that's been a big part of why the Knicks have jumped and have just been even more successful as a team in this year's playoffs. Like, I remember us on the podcast, I think, complaining about it a bit in past years. Towns' defense, no way, we're praising him now. He guarded Wemby good, like, you know, well done, Towns. I'm curious to see how he can keep going with that in the series, but if he play like that for the rest of the series, I would like the Knicks' chances in the series, of course.
You gotta get 3 more. You gotta
Right.
do it 3 more
It's
times.
certainly crazy times we're living in if we're praising Karl Anthony Towns' defense, but I certainly agree. I pointed it out when we were watching. I was like, man, Wemby's trying to force himself inside, and Towns is like a brick wall. He can't get past. And then Towns was like, I know, like on the offensive end too, though. He was getting the step on Wemby a couple times
Yeah.
and driving it in the paint. Even though Brunson was the scorer and the hero at the end, I thought Towns is like to basically just take over that end of the third quarter to tie it up, really just completely changed the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, while we were, waiting to get on here, we had Inside the NBA on the post-game show, which, by the way, shout out to Inside the NBA, their first time covering the finals, and they're all there, which is just, awesome for those guys. But they were interviewing Karl Anthony Towns, and Kenny the Jet Smith was asking Karl Anthony Towns, or one of the guys was asking him, do you think this was your best game that you've ever played with the stakes? And we can debate that. Obviously, he's had 60-point games. He's had some high scoring games, but in the finals, it definitely could be up there. But like you guys said, we're praising him for his defense and saying he had an amazing game when he didn't even make a 3. And this is one of the best big man 3-point shooters of all time. And it shows that he can have an amazing game and a great impact on the game, and arguably their best player throughout the entire game with his defense and just being smart. against Victor Wembanyama was really impressive.
One of the big things we always talk about, especially with his poor defense in the past, it's a lot of stupid fouls. He didn't pick up his fourth foul until 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Like, he did really well keeping his hands off, not doing stupid fouls here and there. Like, I completely agree. We got to give. He had just. I remember in the Inside the NBA, he was literally answering and said he kind of reached like a flow state in that third quarter. He was like, it was just peaceful. He's like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, and that's really how it felt for him. I mean, the other guys contributed well. Deuce McBride, the corner three that he banked in was crazy to close the third quarter, which tied the game.
Ridiculous.
Mitchell Robinson, who did play with the broken finger, it didn't. Did you guys see if he had a brace on his hand? Like, I couldn't really tell, but either way, it didn't look like he was hurt. He looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Jose Alvarado came in, made a three, looked pretty good out there. Landry Shamet, another big, 3-point shooting game. I mean, just another game where they get, positive contributions from everywhere across the lineup. And just a super impressive victory, for the New York Knicks. Jalen Brunson, again, the shot making. We talked about the corner three. That floater where he fell down to the ground, that scoop shot. I mean, just the degree of difficulty of shot making is just, it's unbelievable.
Was the one where he pump faked and then was like trying to go into him, but like went to the side and still threw it up and made it at the end. Like, that's when you just know it's like, all right, anything that happens in the fourth quarter that he just throws up there, it's going to go in. It's just what it is.
Yeah, he is passing every test, man. And these are going to be some, like I said earlier, like vintage Brunson. They're going to be like highlights that get played a lot in the next couple of years if he can bring this thing home, because it's one of the things, like we talked about, is a guard who's his size going to be able to take a team all the way to win the Larry O'Brien trophy. And, he's only got 3 games left and close this one out in his vintage fashion. But, he has never been recognized for, like, MVP, like, real consideration, like, all this stuff. And right now his team's the last one remaining, one of the last 2 remaining, and they're up 1-0.
What did you say earlier? Well, because we're always talking about how Jalen Brunson is clutch. It's like when it's time to.
Yeah, I saw a quote today that resurfaced that I ended up seeing a while back, but basically was, everyone else is better than Jalen Brunson until it's time to be better than Jalen Brunson. And right now, we're seeing that right now. And Nick, what you just said, it was the big thing I was looking for in this series from just an overall basketball standpoint. Which stigma is going to come to an end? You can't win with a small point guard, or you have to lose before you win. And one game in, the Knicks, are up, 1-0 for that reason, because Brunson was able to take over in the fourth quarter, and the Spurs' lack of experience, it felt like maybe their nerves throughout the game really caused them to struggle a little bit. Before we start to preview game 2 a little bit, which is obviously now a big game for the Spurs, quick look back, our series predictions. We were split here on the podcast. Ben and I feeling pretty good with the Knicks in 6 after them taking 1 win. Nick and Joey going with the Spurs in 6. I want to ask Nick and Joey, after 1 game, do you guys want to change anything about your predictions? Are you staying true to the Spurs in 6?
Spurs in 7.
Spurs in 7.
Yeah, I'll push it. Well, yeah, I did not expect them to lose this first one at home. Like we were talking the other day, I was like, which one do you guys think would be more likely for them to lose at home? Because I thought it would be split after 2. I remember, Miles, you asked, do you think it'll be split 1-1? And I obviously didn't feel comfortable saying that because I thought there was a good chance the Spurs were the better team and that they would take both. And honestly, today, I still feel like they're going to win in 7 now, because I don't think that you're going to Madison Square Garden with no finals experience and taking 2 out of what they get. They only get 3 games there, right? Yeah,
correct.
So I'll change it to 7.
Yeah, I'm with Nick, but I'll just keep it at 6.
Stick to your guns.
I'll stick to my guns, but like I'm with you, Nick. I think it was like the Spurs just had a bad game from kind of everybody. Like, obviously it starts with Wembanyama, but like nobody else really kind of stepped up to even try to help a little bit, or at least when it mattered most. And I don't see that happening all the time. Like, I think it was probably nerves. They just needed to get one out. if they were going to lose anyone, I thought this would probably be the game for them to lose, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And Nick, you're absolutely right. The Spurs, I mean, the Spurs were in this. They were what, up one or down one with like 2, 3 minutes to go. I think up one because
Mhm.
because the Knicks ended on an 11-0 run. So they were right in this game despite this being a double-digit finish. But now let's look ahead to game two, Friday, 8:30 on ABC. I know NBA traditional fans will be happy that we're going with the road the blue Knicks jerseys and the Spurs home white. So that'll be fun for the traditionalists to see. But Ben, this of course now, I mean, it's only after one game, but this is now a must-win game for the Spurs. Like we've talked about here. You can't go down 0-2 in the finals at home and then go to Madison Square Garden where you don't have experience playing in that building. So Ben, what do you look to see in this game from the Spurs, particularly from Victor Wembanyama?
Yeah, I mean the Spurs just gonna come out with great energy. They really got to be desperate. Definitely a must win, and hope for aggressive Wemby. You know, find ways to generate uh more open looks he can knock down. See if we can. I mean, there were times where the Spurs were just playing fast on offense. I noticed in game one. You know, maybe slow it down. I would say slow it down a bit more often in game two. Uh, See if that helps spread your offense more. And I think what could help in game two for San Antonio is they do get some nerves out of the way. They seem to have some good excitement, but I think like all right, calm it down. They could calm it down. Just two, they could have a better shot, and you know, it's yeah, that's really what I can think of now.
Nick, what do you look to see from San Antonio as they try to even this thing up on Friday?
Well, I agree with you, Ben. They got to get something going on offense. 95 points is not going to get it done, whether you're going fast or slow. Uh, but I do think that this is a great team in transition. Slowing it down is not the wrong answer, though, I don't think, because they do. They had success in this game. Like you said, Miles Dylan Harper had a great game when they went at Jalen Brunson. And I would imagine that they're going to look to attack him more in game two and make that an advantage for them, as well as get Wemby looks inside by like screening him block to block. I think they really should look to do that because I don't know anybody who can guard him running like a block to block catch and 2 foot score right there. But yeah, get stuff going for Dylan Harper at Jalen Brunson. Get stuff going for Steph Castle at Jalen Brunson. Those are two of the best like 2 foot finisher and playmaker, decision maker guys in the lane, and then get Wemby looks inside. Yeah, I do want to come back to Jalen Brunson at the end though. So before we just follow up with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Joey, it seems like pace for the Spurs seems to be, topic of conversation here. What do you think about the whole pace of the game that the Spurs should play at?
They got the young guys. I'm with Nick. They're a really good since they're such a good transition like defense, and they got back. Like I feel like them playing at like a fast pace really helps them out. Um, but if it's not going well, you obviously have to. You kind of just have to go with what the game is giving you, what New York's giving you. I think they got to move the ball just way better. Like there were so many moments in this game, and especially in the first half, and a little bit in that third quarter, where they were just moving the ball like Spurs basketball in the past, and they're getting easy shots. They're going in. It's like picture perfect what you think of when you like type in Spurs in Google. Like, how do the Spurs play? This is what you get. But they only had like 16 assists. Like, they clearly didn't do it consistently the whole game. Like, they need to stick with that because, like we said, especially at the end of the game when Wemby's just forcing up shots, he's hitting the side of the backboard. Get some of your other teammates involved. Keep them going, especially if they had a good first half or starting again in the second half. You got to keep them involved. Just because when they're playing well, everybody's playing well. But I also agree with you, Nick. Get Wemby some easy shots. Try to get him closer to the basket. Let him warm up, and then he's just going to be firing them from like 5 feet behind the 3-point line, and they'll be going in. Like that's just how his confidence works.
Here are some insane numbers from the second half. We're talking about the assists. They had 16 total. In the second half, they had just 8 turnovers, and they shot 2 for 19 from 3. Now, that's probably those things are probably connected, right? Correlated. You're not gonna have as many assists if you're missing 17 threes, and a lot of them were decent looks.
Yeah.
But I will say on the pace thing, I thought that the way they played in the first half, I mean, it worked out pretty good. I mean, they looked really good in the first half. Um, but overall, I think that they can continue to play with pace and play a little bit faster, but it has to be a little bit more controlled. Because I thought that there were, some particular plays where they were moving the ball, but they were playing a little too fast, and some individuals were playing too fast. Like Julian Champagny in particular, he made 5 threes in the first half. He was on fire. And because he was on fire in the first half, I thought that he rushed some of those threes in the second half, and he bricked a few of them, didn't even hit the rim. So I think a lot of it has to do with them needing to play a little bit more controlled and smarter. And I think they have to play with that pace because New York, even though they, play with more ball movement, with more pace, you could say, in their offense, they're always going to play slower than the Spurs. And if the game is played slower, then that's going to go to the Knicks' advantage because they have Jalen Brunson, who we saw at the end of this game in a half court set. There's not many guys right now in the NBA that you'd rather have the ball in their hands in a half court set than number 11 in blue and orange.
Well, that was my question: is he a top 3 clutchest point guard of our generation in the last 10 years?
I would.
I know
certainly
2
think so.
that I would put with him if he is number 3.
Steph Curry.
And
Kyrie.
well, I was gonna say Dame.
See, Kyrie is one of the
Yeah.
clutchest.
Mr. Fourth Quarter. Yeah.
That is tough.
But
I mean,
he's
Hallie's
that's
up
the
there
thing.
now. I mean, you got to put Hallie in the conversation too now.
Correct.
But that's the kind of names Brunson's with. He is with those kind of all-time greats when it comes to clutch. And if he continues to do this for the rest of the 3 games that he has to win, he's going to be right up there with Steph Curry, I think, even maybe passing Dame because he won a championship doing it.
Yeah, it really is something else. He might already be on the Mount Rushmore of New York Knicks all-time players. He certainly is up there with the type of performances that he's had, and he's proven, throughout these playoffs and so far in one game of the finals. Like if this comes down to close games in this series, then you're going to favor the Knicks so far. But coming into this series, we did kind of expect. I said specifically that I expect in this series to see a couple blowouts on both ends. I see, close games going both ways. We'll see if this was the Knicks' only close one of the series, if they'll have more coming up here. Also going into game 2, Ben, the thing is, New York, they won this game, and Jalen Brunson went crazy in the final couple of minutes. But like we said, neither team played that great offensively. That's what's so interesting about this is the Spurs obviously can get better, but so too can the Knicks. It's not like they played anywhere close to they have, over the last month or so.
Right. Exactly. They, you know, just find some hopefully big scoring performances outside of Brunson. I mean, today the main reason they won was I thought their defense was outstanding through one game, and they continued that outstanding defense, and their offense gets back to more so looking like smooth and connected or moving the ball well, hitting down a bunch of threes like they did in 76 to the Kansas series. Man, it could be really tough on Spurs, depending on how the Spurs can adjust. With we'll see.
Do we think that going into game 2 there will be any lineup or rotation changes from either head coach going into game 2, or stick with kind of the same lineups, rotations, and see what happens in game 2?
I really don't know. I really do like Luke Cornett. Like he was such a big spark for the Spurs in that OKC series, and he did have some moments here, but in the second half, especially when they took Wemby out and Luke Cornett came in, he couldn't stop anybody. They went right inside. They attacked him. Mitchell Robinson and Cat were cutting him off. If anything, Wemby is just going to play a ton of minutes in the second half. I think might have to happen if it's at least a close game. If it's unless everybody on the Spurs gets better and they can actually play Cornett, but if it's a close game, I think you kind of have to just keep Wemby out there unless he just tweaks something or gets hurt.
That's a great point, by the way. Forgot to mention that what was so interesting about this game, when Wemby went to the bench in each half, there was a crazy extended run. But in the first quarter, it was the Spurs that went on that run. That's when they extended the lead to double digits to close the first quarter. But then in the third quarter, in the same situation, that's when Towns got going in the third quarter. So I just find that interesting that kind of the same situation in each half, and it both went in completely opposite directions.
Oh yeah, there were two halves. And that was Dylan Harper that was mostly responsible for that first half kind of explosion.
Yeah, I mean, it could have changed possibly because the Knicks, obviously, I mean, I think they seemed even more prepared coming out of this long break, but still, needed to pick up their rhythm since it was long, and I think it looked like it was more so the Knicks getting more rhythm somehow when Cornette was out there, which helped them, especially Carl Anthony Towns scoring, and he grabbed some big rebounds too that I was impressed with.
Yeah, certainly, a big performance for Towns. Another thing on Brunson, I forgot to say, he had this crazy good fourth quarter. Didn't shoot the ball well for the first three quarters, but can we just talk about how much of a just an Iron Man that guy is as well, for knee and ankle injuries in the first quarter or first half, and then comes back and just has a great fourth quarter. I mean, the Knicks seem like the team. We've seen it with Josh Hart before, where it seems like they get injured and then they play better. Like it's just crazy, but it really is something special what we're watching with this Knicks team. Like I was saying, near the end of this game, like again, this is the second longest playoff winning streak in the history of the NBA, behind the Kevin Durant Warriors. Like this is now really becoming an all-time team we're watching right now, regardless of what happens in the rest of this series. Like the 25-26 New York Knicks is going to go down as one of the greatest teams that we've seen in this era. Which is
not if they don't win. Not if they don't win.
Not.
I don't know. Do you think they will if they lose in 6 or 7? You think they'll still go down as? I don't know.
They've gone on the most dominant 12-game stretch in the history of basketball, and it's been done in the playoffs. That is all-time stuff.
I don't know.
I'm still picking against them in game 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you, Nick. It's kind of like that 2016 Warriors, man. 73-9 just doesn't have a good ring to it.
But they're an all-time team, though. Still, this is going to be an all-time
team.
This is an all-time team. I'm telling you, don't win in the playoffs on the road 7 straight times by double figures, and 3 of them by 40 to 60 points, without being an all-time team.
That's honestly the most impressive thing for me.
And look, I'm going to guess that all of us are picking the Spurs to win game 2, and we'll get into predictions, because we said on here we'd be ultimately shocked if New York was up 2-0 after the first 2 games of this series. But with this stretch that they're on, the most dominant 12-game stretch in the history of basketball, this is an all-time team. I don't think that's a question.
Okay, well, that's fine.
That's fair.
But as far as predictions for game 2, you guys go Spurs. I'm going Spurs to tie it up.
Yeah, I mean, right now, at least give Spurs. I'll pick them some more. I got to be careful. The Knicks, I still, who knows if they get hot. I still believe them pulling them out. I know they're playing Wemby, but I go with the Spurs for next game. I still believe the Spurs are better than what they were playing in the East, but who knows? I mean, I thought maybe the Cavs could finally take one against the Knicks. No, the Knicks just swept every game. They surprised me before, but yeah, we'll see, of course. be interesting.
Yeah, anything can happen. If it's a close game going into the fourth quarter, all eyes are on Jalen Brunson all the time, and literally anything can happen. But I don't expect to see Wemby have shoot this poorly 2 games in a row at home. I just don't see that. So I'll pick Spurs as well.
I go Spurs. I go double-digit plus. I think they'll have an emphatic win in this one to go up or to tie the series. I think they're gonna have a big bounce back game led by Wemby because, like you guys said, he could play a whole lot better, and really everyone else can play better.
Yeah.
Like I don't think anyone else played a great full game here. Like again, Champagny had a great first half. Same with Harper. Castle was good in the second half, but like nothing stood out consistently for the entire game. Like it felt like Dylan Harper was their best player in this game, and he did it for one half.
Yeah.
So I feel good about their chances to tie it up in game 2.
I think it'll be another close game, though. I agree. More minutes for Keldon Johnson, too.
I agree with that.
Yeah, only 8 minutes in this one. 3 fouls in 8 minutes. Only put up 4 shots, 3 points. Definitely interesting that they went away from him in the second half of that game. I have to go back and watch the film and see if there was a particular matchup that they didn't like him guarding. But either way, just an incredible way to start off the final. Some random notes from the game. Just feels great. We talked about it here to have the trophy logo and the finals logo back on the court.
It looks great. It really does. It's just, it's the finals again. It feels like it.
Yeah, no more of this YouTube TV having 10 sponsorships on the court. No more of that garbage. We had a fan run on the floor. In the fourth quarter of this game, which hasn't happened a finals game in a long time. It rarely happens as is because the punishment is pretty severe for doing that. But that was definitely something. I also wonder if that had a factor in this game. Like you never know. I feel like anytime that happens, the home team gets to be a disadvantage because everyone in the building is like, "What the heck just happened? Like, what?" You feel thrown off.
Yeah. That's one of our people. That's one of our San Antonians. He's acting a fool on national TV, and now we're all embarrassed. So,
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, running around getting a selfie with Wemby and Mitchell Robinson. I'm gonna go on X right now, see if it was posted anywhere.
Sure, it's out
Because
there.
that would certainly be hilarious. I don't think it
Joey,
would be.
we were saying him doing the selfies, what we see in soccer, world football from Ronaldo, Messi. That part of it made it funny to us.
Yeah, Wemby's getting the Ronaldo and Messi treatment where he's got to have a bodyguard on it, like watching all the stands just to make sure no one runs on and hurts them accidentally.
Yeah, and then my final note for right after the game, right after the Knicks, get this emotional game 1 victory on the road, Jalen Brunson takes over in the fourth quarter. Right after the game, he goes up and is talking pretty emphatically to Scott Foster. Scotty too hottie. I don't know what was going on. If there was a fan behind the scorer's table, that was heckling him or something throughout the game. But just found that interesting. You don't really see Brunson get that animated, at things like that. So you wonder if that was anything.
I will say, refs did a pretty good job tonight. 23 fouls each way. You don't see that often. They're going to be happy about that one for the league. But I thought they did a pretty good job, especially late in the fourth. They kind of swallowed the whistle a little bit. They got pretty physical, and they didn't let it get out of hand. But they kept the game flowing throughout most of it, especially, like I said. I thought they did a really good job in the fourth, calling it pretty fairly, but physically.
I agree.
Yeah, I would say so as well. Ben, you have any other random notes or things you want to talk about from game 1, or are you just looking ahead to game 2?
Excited for game 2. I'm just trying to enjoy basketball while it lasts before, a long off season.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sure, Ben and I rooting for the Knicks in this series, kind of with our predictions. You guys rooting for the Spurs. But I'm going to speak for myself that I am rooting for the Spurs in game 2 because I want this to be a long series.
Yeah.
So go Spurs go in game 2. See if poor Vita, let's pull it off and go to MSG tied up at 1 game apiece. Either way, we will be back here on Saturday to recap game 2 and see if we've got a 1-1 series or if New York City is still alive if they go up 2-0 in the finals. I don't know. My goodness. But that is it for us. You guys have anything else before we get out of here?
I'm ready to go celebrate my birthday. How about anybody else?
That's right.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Joey. That's right. June 4th.
Happy 29th birthday.
29.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That is huge. Well, hope the Spurs can get it done for you with the Spurs
hope.
hat.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Just great. In-person podcast for the finals. Glad that we had it back. Hoping to do some more throughout the series. But guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA playoff content. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.